Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to another video on Modern Warships. I'm The Unknown, and today we're going to continue on the series and move on to the next class of ship, destroyers, and what are the best free-to-play destroyers and pay-to-win destroyers for beginners and pros. So first off, we're going to go over the best free-to-play destroyers for beginners that are below level 20, right? And the best two options that come to mind are the RF Admiral Ushakov and the CN type 055A or 055 Nanchang. All right, these two ships are excellent when it comes to beginners and just overall armaments, and the balance is just really good. We'll start off with the Nanchang first. When I first downloaded Modern Warships, the Nanchang didn't always look like this. And matter of fact, it wasn't always called the Nanchang. It was actually called the 055 Renai, or Renhai if you want to sound it out. And originally, it had 2 missiles, 3 grenade launchers. I believe it only had 1 torpedo or no torpedoes, if I'm not mistaken. And the air defense setup did remain the same. Lately, though, the Nanchang did get a rename. It also got a remodel, so it now looks proper, and it got an extra missile buff. It got an extra torpedo, and yeah, making this thing an excellent brawler for beginners. Now, as I said, this is a brawler, so you want to use a brawler type build on this thing. So, I currently do have a free-to-play setup on this. A free-to-play setup if you're a hero or a legend. However, if you're, level 15 to 20, the best options you would have are, I would say, use the broomstick, which was a free-to-play missile. Or, I know that's not the best choice, but there's not really many options. However, if you do somehow have access to level 25 armaments via the market, the Scalp Naval is a really good brawler type missile. Its launch animation is good. It doesn't launch too high, so air defenses don't easily intercept it in close range. The same cannot be said for the Type 40. As for the cannon, you cannot go wrong with the Monarch. All right, you just can't. The pumpkin launcher would have to be the 100% best option for a free-to-play grenade launcher. It is 100% accurate for all ranges, but for close range, it would be an absolute menace, especially since the reload is only 4.9 seconds. As for the torpedo, Spearfish would be your best bet, or the Tiger Shark, or the new upcoming Battle Pass Spearfish that's going to come out in a day or so. And yeah, the air defense that you could use for this is honestly just full Garpin or like a hybrid air defense and a laser. In this case, the best free-to-play laser is the only free-to-play laser, the Excalibur. So yeah, moving on to the Admiral Ushakov. This is probably better than the Nanchang because it has 2 cannons on it. Now at first, this ship used to be a sleeper. Not many people used this ship. But now, since it has the smoke consumable, it has made this thing very annoying and very good. It also did get a remodel as well lately, fairly recently too, so yeah. I currently am running a tournament loadout on mine because I have a tournament today, actually, in a few hours. But this thing can be a close-range brawler, and it can be a far-range sniper because it has 2 cannons. So obviously, the best sniper cannon for free-to-play players is going to be the Monarch, hands down. For missiles, you have a few choices. If you're a hero, definitely use the Zircon. You just can't go wrong with the Zircon. Or you could use HQ-26, which is another viable choice. Or if you're like heavily into laser-guided missiles, obviously the X-51 or the HVGP, which did recently get durability buffs. Or if you did get the Gabriel V, you could use that too. Or, if you really want to be toxic, use the Rim or Scalps. For grenade launchers, the 726-4A is decent, not the best. If you somehow, some way have the RBU 2500, that's probably going to be your best bet. As for a torpedo, typically you'd want to use something that does a lot of damage. In this case, I'm using the Type 89. However, if you do have the pay-to-win, you could use the Aka or if you're free to play, you could use like Tiger Shark or Spearfish or the new Battle Pass Spearfish. As for helicopters and stuff, it doesn't really matter what helicopter you use because you're just going to end up launching it and throwing it away anyways. And especially since the aircraft reserve for all helicopters is 2, it doesn't really matter what helicopter you use. As for an air defense, it has a very good air defense setup. For a 4X slot, I'm always going to recommend using a hybrid air defense. I used Scarpins just because they're there. However, Crowtails do work really well. The Roland is also a good choice. The Alka is a good choice. Only for the 2X slot. For the 4X slot, you want to use something hybrid like the JNRG Sea-Wiz is probably the best option. For the 2X slot, you're going to want to run a laser. So Excalibur, the Alka, or the HPLS are really, really, really good options. Now, as you guys level up and you guys progress through the levels, you will unlock new ships. So for level 20, we have the DDGX, all right? And keep in mind, I'm only going to mention like dollar and gold items. I'm not going to mention Battle Pass items because not everybody had access to these Battle Pass items because not everybody started playing at the same time as me. So yeah, we're only going to be mentioning the dollar ships out there, the completely free-to-play builds that anybody can obtain. So the DDGX is a really, really good choice. Now, obviously, this thing has had a buff recently where they added 2 grenade launchers to it. This thing originally had no grenade launchers, so this thing was pretty much defenseless against submarines. But now that it has grenade launchers, it is on this list of best free-to-play destroyers, hands down. It has a 1X slot, which typically for 1X slots you would use anti-air missiles. For the 3X slot, if you're a brawler, use scalps or any other missile that has a decent reload and does damage. Or if you're one of the pros, use X51s. 3X slots are always good for X51s. As for a cannon, you typically want to use something with accuracy and damage, which in this case would be the Monarch. The ED railgun is also a pretty good choice. Or if you're pay to win, the Mark 71, this cannon, the L52, I guess. The Bofors L50 is okay, not the best choice. The Oerlikon is also really good. TMF is also pretty good. The S816 is also a really good choice. As for a grenade launcher, typically you'd want to use something with accuracy, which in this case the RUR 5C Azeroth is definitely not the best choice. The pumpkin launcher is definitely a viable option, and again, the RBU 2500, or if you really, really, really hate submarines, the TRG. As for a torpedo, same thing. Spearfish, anything like Spearfish, Tiger Shark, stuff like that. Helicopters, doesn't really matter. For free-to-play people, use the rapid fire. If you're if you're free to play, you were able to obtain this autocannon in a past event that was completely for free. All you had to do was grind. So this is also a really good autocannon. If you're a brawler, the CSAN is the best autocannon for brawling, and the Seahawk Sigma if you need an extra air defense. As for the overall air defense, again, a hybrid air defense such as the JNRG Sea-Wiz and something like the HPLS or any laser like that. Moving on down the list, we have the 2145 and the lighter. Both are somewhat similar in their own right. Both have 4 missiles. They're just rearranged differently. However, in this case, I use a mixture of 2 Zircons and 2 X51s because typically some idiots are going to flare the X51, and then in turn you could use the 2 Zircons to launch and snipe. Now, the beautiful thing about the 2145 is you're able to peek from 2 different angles, and that's because the cannons of this ship are both in the back along with the grenade launchers. So you have 4 sets of artillery on both sides of the ship that you can use to peek, which is a very good option for this ship. Typically, the smarter choice would be to peek from the back because you're exposing less of your ship than if you were to peek from the front. But yeah, again, this is another good choice, especially since a while ago it did get a buff where it now has 2 S400s on it, and it got an extra air defense. When this thing was first released, it only had 2 air defenses on it, which was terrible. Next on the list, obviously, is the lighter. A lot of people glaze this ship It used to be one of the best ships to do tournaments with. So yeah, it's got that going for it. Now, for an overall build for the free-to-play community out there, you can't really go wrong with scalps. Or if you have like other missiles, like the Iskander is also okay. It's not the best, but it's a free-to-play missile because it was obtainable for free. Obviously, for cannons, you're going to want to use the Monarch. There's really no other cannon you should be using except the Monarch. For grenade launchers, RBU 2500 or the TRG. Those are your best two options. For torpedoes, again, Spearfish, Tiger Shark, the new Spearfish that's going to come out, Type 89, or if you're pay to win, use the Aka torpedo. Can't go wrong with it. Helicopter doesn't matter. This thing did get an air defense buff. So for this, you would want to use 4 hybrid air defenses and 4 lasers. It is an impenetrable air defense. You just can't go wrong with it. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it for all of the dollar cruisers. Now we can go on. Those are the ones for beginners / people that are beginning to be pros. Now, the best destroyer, obviously, for the pros out there is going to be the USS Zumwalt, all right? It is the best destroyer, hands down, for the pros that love sniping and love using X-51s. This thing has only ever gotten buffed in its lifetime. When this thing first got released, it only had 1 air defense. It had 1 air defense, 2 auto... It didn't even have autocannons, I don't think. Oh, no, it did. It had 2 autocannons and 1 air defense with only 2 missiles on it. If you guys watch like my very old videos, you guys can see this, that it only ever had 2 missiles on it. Now, for the best free-to-play setup you can use for this thing, full X-51, full like Monarch. For the helicopter, use a free-to-play helicopter. Doesn't really matter because typically there's going to be someone on your team that spots. For an autocannon, use the rapid fire, and for an air defense, use a laser. Now, if you're pay to win like me, obviously you already know what build I'm going to be using. Full nuclear high fly. Typically, I would run a rim missile on this if I want to put a full American loadout. The Mark 71, CH1, Seahawk Sigma, and Rim 162. Or if I really, really, really wanted to be toxic and just be impenetrable, I put the HPLS laser. Now, the best pay-to-win destroyers out there. There's not a lot. However, the first one that comes to mind would be the USS... where is it? The USS Fletcher, all right? This thing is a very toxic destroyer. As you guys can see, I have a pretty gay build on mine right now. But yeah, this thing has 3 cannons, 2 missiles, and 2 grenade launchers. So obviously, since you're a pay-to-win player and you can afford this, clearly you can afford pay-to-win builds out there for most people out there. So in this case, the ASN 4G is probably one of the best options you could use. For a cannon, you'd want to use something like the Mark 55 or the Mark 71 in this case. Or if you're free to play and you don't have those cannons, use the Monarch. However, the best cannon to use would be the Emmerich Koenig if you have it. For grenade launchers, RBU 2500 or the TRG are pretty good choices. As for an air defense, you don't really have a lot going for you, so I would use another hybrid air defense or a laser, and that is probably the best choice you could possibly give for this destroyer. Now, as I move down the list, I realize that there's not many pay-to-win destroyers out there, so we're going to go ahead and go to the the Panspatial Red Rum. This is probably the best pay-to-win destroyer in the game, hands down. It is perfect. 2 cannons, 2 grenade launchers, 3 missiles, and an insane high speed. You can't go wrong with this thing. Now, obviously, some people are going to disagree with this, but this thing, if you flank and the player who's using this thing is insanely skilled, you're going to want to watch out for this ship. Now, an honorable mention is going to go to the Kree Srivijaya. It is a free ship that everybody can obtain in ranked. However, it's not many people do play ranked. Not everybody does, so it's only going to be an honorable mention. However, this is probably, again, one of the best destroyers out there. 4 missiles, 3 grenade launchers, and a cannon with a god-level air defense. If you were to put HPLS on this thing paired up with this, yeah, you're pretty much going to be impenetrable. So, yeah. Anyways, that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know you guys' Let me know what you guys think are the best free-to-play and pay-to-win destroyers are out there. Again, this video is just purely based on my opinion and my opinion alone. So just because of what I say doesn't make things true. This is just what works for me. If you agree, cool. If you disagree, I want to know why, and I want to know what you think is the best and why. Anyways, that is going to do it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Peace out.